Hey everybody, welcome to the NotMom Conversation. We are here second Sunday of every month. I am Laura, and of course I am joined by founder of the NotMom, Karen Malone Wright. How you doing, Karen?
I'm doing good this beautiful June Sunday, all quarantined.
It is, yeah, that is, it feels like it's been forever, right? This year has lasted like 7 years already.
Well, this is only our second episode, and I realize it's the only time I look forward to putting on makeup. I have lipstick on, just for you guys.
We feel very honored.
And I haven't been to the hairdresser since February 6th, so my gray's coming in, but it's still me.
It's definitely you, and I think it looks amazing. So you can own that.
I'm kind of like
we want to welcome everybody to the show. Again, this is our second show, and we're really pleased that you are here. And again, feel free to comment in the comment section, and we'll add you into the conversation from time to time. But we do have a little bit of business we need to conduct. As we talked about before, the NotMom has some code of conduct rules, so I'm going to put those slides up here real quick so that you know kind of what the rules are as we're discussing things and when you put comments up. So you kind of get an understanding of our sort of concept and the way that we're running the whole thing. So we don't use mean girl terms, so definitely don't use them in your comments. And we want to be positive, and we want to be uplifting, and we want to be inclusive. So, and that's really the end of the business, right? Anything you have, Karen?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, then let's just get down to it, because we have a guest and we're super, super excited about it. We are welcoming Maxine Trump. Yes, indeed.
Hi, everybody.
Maxine, welcome to the show.
Hi, lovely to see you both.
Max, before it occurs to me that for those who don't know you, you might want to be clear that there is no relation between you and the person in the White House.
You know, I totally should have changed my name banner and put, like I usually do in my emails, no relation in the middle. So thanks, Karen. Thanks for reminding me. And we've already got some friends joining us on chats, which is really nice. We recognize some of those names.
We do, absolutely. Yeah, let's take a second to say hi. We've got No Kids LLC, which is awesome to see.
Hey, Jill.
And yeah, say hi to Jill. Jill loves the film.
Thank you, Jill.
And Shannon, we love friend of the show. We love to see Shannon around. Hey, Shannon, how you doing?
So, Max,
awesome.
We're going to start out with a sort, because we feel that you have the ability to just have touched so many women without children around the world through your film, through your screenings and festivals. And so we wanted to start out with the quarantine, which has touched every part of our globe. And we wondered, how are you making it through as a not mom in quarantine these days?
You know, it's been super interesting because it was lovely to come to Cleveland Film Festival and celebrate with you, Karen, when we showed the film there last year, which was wonderful. And so we've had this amazing kind of groundswell around the film, and press has been amazing. And it's just, like you say, we just hear from people all the time about how it's touched their lives. And that just makes me so happy. But one thing that did affect us quite seriously, we had this whole kind of theatrical tour booked in the UK, and we were going to go from theatre to theatre and town to town. And the reason I love chatting to you today, because we had to cancel that. We've just had our worldwide release today, and we have an event on Tuesday night. And so it's been an interesting time, a really, really interesting time to still be a filmmaker and still be sort of, letting people know that this is still going on. And yeah, I feel like we could talk a lot about how lockdown affects the childless and child-free.
Where will that event be on Tuesday? Tuesday, June 16th?
Yeah. So It'll be 3 p.m. EST and 8 p.m. British Standard Time. And it'll be available through my website, tokidornottokid.com. But it's actually being hosted by a great organization called Population Matters in the UK. And we have Lilani Munter, who is a huge child-free advocate, joining us on the panel as well. So it'll be super exciting. And thank you, No Kids LLC. They just said sorry that the tour was cancelled. Very nice of you.
Yes, indeed. I know it is sad, but we're really grateful though that and this is something I think all of us are experiencing with the whole quarantine, or whatever we want to call it, shelter in place, stay-at-home orders, all of that we can do a lot of things virtually that we really didn't think we could do before. So it's really amazing that you still can do this panel, and that everyone can watch it, and it's not exclusive, and everybody gets to, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, that's so true. And I know we talked a lot, Karen, when I came and met you both at the NotMom summits over the last few years, that we talked about also the notmom.com worldwide audience. Like, you often hear from people around the world. So it's so exciting that, and I even remember, like, I can quote your lines, Karen, now from the film. But and watch the film if you haven't seen it, because Karen is awesome in it. As were a ton of the Not Mums, which is super exciting. But there were so many people that you were quoting that had reached out to you from Africa, from China, Australia, like incredible. So it, like you say, Laura, it's so brilliant that actually we can get this out and people can see it wherever they are, which is awesome.
Laura, we're getting off our topic, Laura, but I have to tell Max that Laura and I have talked about future episodes of the Not Mom Conversation, considering the headlines today, and we've talked about cultural not moms, and whether you are Indian American or African American or Asian American, whatever, how those influences may be impacting your feelings about not having children, whether you are by chance or by choice. And so many people remind me that I said in your movie that there are times I wish I'd had a child. Well, there are many times I wish I'd had a child, but I wish I'd had a child just to help and to feel as though, or take that gamble that my child would be a strong voice for Black women and Black people going forward after I'm long gone. And that I had let Martin Luther King down somehow because I didn't have a child. And it's funny how that line has resonated with people, because I've heard from, Hispanic women, Latinas particularly, seem to tell me that feeling of they've let, somebody down. And so I'm glad your film is keeping the conversation going.
Thank you.
So today we're going to talk about quarantining.
Yeah.
And so the question for you, and you are not alone in quarantine, am I right? You are with your husband and your cat.
Yes.
But
very important.
We were talking about how we've seen articles where therapists are very concerned about two groups in particular. One's kind of easy to predict, parents of very young kids, and that, they're in the house, but also adults living totally alone, not even with a cat, not even with a dog. And I wonder, have you heard from women like that? I would love for the comments to start showing us, where are you ladies and what are you doing these days? Are you working on your dream, chasing that, great American novel that you're going to write? Are you exercising? How do you keep your spirits up?
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I'm sure we're all doing the same with our friends that we know that do live alone. I'm constantly checking in on them, making sure. And actually, they sound, their mental health has quite often been better than mine. And I'm like, and I keep kind of saying, I've been in New York at the moment, for anyone that's also in New York, you know, we're cycling everywhere like crazy because obviously no public transport. And so I cycled 15 miles, which I've never done before, to go and see this one friend who was living on her own. And she was just like, she was awesome. I nearly died from 15 miles. But I think, again, like communities like yours, having the NotMom.com, like I just see, you know, some of the subreddits, like the Reddit groups, you know, communities are just being much more engaged with right now. And I think that that's where it's really important that we have these kind of subgroups, because I think people need to know that they're not alone. And that's what I'm hearing all the time. And again, you know, that's why it's just awesome. You know, I've just been having messages this morning. I just need to know I'm not alone. I just need to know I'm not alone. And this film has said I'm not alone. And that's what we're all kind of wishing for everyone we love, right? That they feel that they can see themselves reflected back, whether they're childless or child-free. So that's, yeah. So from my point of view, I've got some pretty amazing single friends, and they really add to my life in a big way.
Yeah, we're getting some comments. You know, people are telling us what they're doing. Courtney is exercising and eating, and she's got her dog and her partner, so she's living the life. It's funny you say, Maxine, because I have a girlfriend who lives alone, and she, from the very beginning of this, no pets, no nothing, she's like, I was born for this. This is literally, she's like, I am thrilled. I am not at work. I am not dealing with anybody else's crap. I am just living my life. So I'm all about that. And yeah, so No Kids LLC, they've done more virtual happy hours with friends during the pandemic, which is something I've been doing as well. I assume maybe you all have too, because it is, again, with this technology, we can do all of that.
I'm part of a virtual happy hour group. You know, on Thursday evenings, we all, you know, bring our drinks, no matter, you know, alcohol or no alcohol, and we get together. But a lot of those women are empty nesters. They're not necessarily truly childless or child-free, but they are literally childless or child-free because their homes don't have kids in them anymore. But I was saying to Laura, it's just not the same as putting your elbows on a bar with somebody.
You know, I do think the other thing that we forget sometimes as well, when we are, you know, if we're childless or child-free, is that our relationships are so important to us outside of the family as much as inside the family. And I really consider some of my friends my family too. And so I've just seen, you know, a comment from Serenity Hines, who we know well as well, saying she was the one that was making the calls. And it's really interesting. Those of us that don't have children at home, I think it does sort of, you know, because we possibly branch out a little bit more, we're able to, you know, I know for me personally, and I know a lot of people have written about this in this same community, about how important these relationships are to them. So yeah, I'm sure all of us have been like going crazy on happy hours, and I did a murder mystery the other night. That was fun.
That sounds awesome. Yeah. How do you do that?
That sounds really awesome.
I know, right? It was, and we all dressed up as our different characters. It was absolutely amazing.
Were you the murderer?
I wasn't. I was the crazy, really, really old aunt that was just about to die, but I didn't murder anyone.
I love it. Now I need to do one. Yeah, but so my friends and I have been doing what we call Thirsty Thursdays. So we just get together on Thursday nights, and whoever can join, and you know, we're like, hey, what are you drinking? And then we just talk about whatever. And
what is it about Thursdays? That's when I do it.
It's Little Friday.
It's a nice alliteration.
Yeah. Oh, so we started out, Laura and I were planning this, and I realized the three of us are each sort of self-employed somewhat these days. And, you know, even though all the focus seems to be on people working at home and having Zoom meetings and things like that, and we all, I think separately, you know, were really drawn to an article by Manisha Krishnan, talking about whether or not parents should expect their childless colleagues to do more work.
Yeah.
Because they're not locked in the house with kids and they're not stressed that way. And I was drawn to the story because I am a caregiver for my senior elderly aunt who's in a nursing home. And I'm the one who, you know, I can't visit her now, of course, but I'm talking to her every day. I figured out how to get Amazon to deliver things, you know, directly to her nursing home because I can, you know, I mean, I've got that. I'm not saying I'm not comparing it as equal. I'm comparing it to comparable. The stress that I feel for her, the stress of daily concern and checking up for her. So I can't imagine really what it might be like for a colleague or a supervisor to say to me, well, you know, you don't have kids, so you can do more work. And I wonder if either of you really has met someone going through that situation, or if you believe that it's more of a you need to tell your boss about it, or is it more of a no, just talk one-on-one with your colleague about it?
Oh, I could go on about this and on and on and on and on about it. So I'm going to try and keep it really short. But one, which is hard, but one character in the film, as you both know, is my sister, and she's actually a preacher and she works for a church. And I just literally posted a deleted scene because she says she sees this all the time. About in the church, where people that don't have children are expected to volunteer, are expected to give up all the holidays, and it's really been on her heart because she's, you know, she's pretty awesome. But I'm this big proponent. Anytime I write about this issue, I always talk about family leave. Can we actually talk about getting good paternity, maternity rights in this country? Let's start there, but let's talk about it as family leave. And then we can all fight for it together, because there should be rights for many, or take a sabbatical from your work and write that book that Laura's writing at the moment. You know, it's like, it should be all inclusive. We're trying to be a really, really inclusive world now, right? So let's include everybody and let's all fight for it together. So I'm a big believer in family leave, whatever that family may be.
That may be well, you know, that's what the NotMom, that's become one of our new taglines, is we redefine family.
That's great.
Absolutely. And I completely agree that, you know, I think when we start to draw those lines, like it's either not parents versus parents, like that's when the conversation gets really muddy, because we're all working and it shouldn't matter ultimately the circumstances at home. You know, we should all have equal access to time off, to various, you know, employer protections, to all of these things that we should have. So yeah, family leave, I think, is exactly the right way to discuss it. And I wish more people were talking about that, you know, that people shouldn't have to feel guilty because they have to take time off to be with their sick pet. And I know right now a lot of people feel that way because they get this, oh, well, you don't have kids, oh, it's just an animal, you know, you don't get to take time off. But then they feel trapped because then they don't know what to do about, you know, do they quit their job? What do they do? So, and I think it's even more now that people are working from home, because everyone feels like they need to be busy constantly because we have 24-hour access to our jobs, just as if we weren't, you know, as if we never work from home. So we feel like we need to answer those emails at, you know, 10 o'clock at night, whereas, you know, we probably don't. So, and people with kids are feeling like, you know, the people without kids are feeling like people with kids, you know, I get it. They didn't choose to be in this situation. They didn't ask to be working with their kids at home, but neither did the not parents. They didn't ask to be at home either. And they definitely didn't sign up to take up the slack. So I think all of those are huge issues in the at-home workplace and in the workplace.
You're getting a lot of support in the comments.
I don't know what that was.
Oh, that was me.
Oh.
I set down my glass very hard.
What were you saying, Max?
You're getting a lot of people agreeing in the comments about this. No Kids LLC. Like, I agree with them. We redefine family is such a good mantra. I love it. You know, that your quotes that you're going to be using. It's just such a great line. And there's definitely a few more comments there about the issue.
I believe strongly that no matter the subject matter or the connotation and category, I believe that assumptions almost always lead to resentment. It breeds resentment. I assume that you are getting more attention because you're a parent. You assume that I'm just dancing through the house naked because I don't have kids. And we're not, you know, the whole racial thing, nobody's talking to each other. And it's the assumptions that always get us in trouble. So, you know, maybe, you know, while we're advocating for family leave, we advocate for honest conversation. You know, I think it was Laura actually who sort of made me aware that there are a lot of Zoom meetings these days where people are, you know, apologizing because the little kids are in the room, and the little kids are in the room, which is totally blowing up the timeline of the meeting. And everyone seems to be okay with it, except that one person who doesn't have children and just wants the meeting to happen. And am I to be punished because I really want just to keep on the clock?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's definitely a subject that I think you might be getting more, you know, as you're doing this more and more. I think it's great to get PR people. I mean, what you did so brilliantly at the NotMom Summit, both of you, is like you would have sort of experts in different fields talking about different subjects. And I know I interviewed somebody that worked in PR about this issue, and she was like, you know, we really need to inform all of these different parts of society. So whether it's psychology, so we've been taking the film to, when we could have conferences, to psychology conferences, sociology conferences. We were just about to take the film to psychiatry conferences, OBGYN conferences, because people need to have this awareness as they're treating and dealing with people day by day, that there are all facets of society. And if we're 20 to 25% of that society, like us all, you know, any minority has to have representation at the table. So yeah, I just think that was, you know, always a beautiful thing that you both organized at the NotMom Summit. You'd have those people there that could really talk on these subjects. So I'm excited to watch more of these for sure.
Was I supposed to say something?
That's the beauty of a conversation. No, not necessarily. Yeah, no, you know, we're very grateful that you were very much involved in both summits. You know, you came and filmed the first one and then came and presented at the second one. That was such a, you know, a great honor for us to be able to have you there. You know, we don't need to necessarily get off onto the topic of the summit, but, you know, obviously those were transformative experiences for all three of us and for all the women that came to our events. So, you know, we're just grateful that we were able to do those, you know, create those spaces of time that we could all have those kinds of conversations. And that's what we're doing here, hopefully, is, you know, it's a smaller version, but we're still starting the conversation.
But
Absolutely.
I think it's the conversations that can begin to eliminate the assumptions.
Yeah.
You know? So I would suggest strongly that you add to your list, Maxine, to take the movie to groups of human resources professionals who are the ones starting to hear more and more. You know, I mean, I remember at the last summit, and for a moment, a woman was very upset sharing the story of how her company, her employer, had decided to put in a really lovely nursing area for mothers who were bringing their babies to work or, you know, couldn't find daycare or whatever. But that money came from benefit money for all the employees, and the employees weren't even told that that decision was going to be made. Not that they might not have voted against it, just that the assumption that everybody will approve of this, even though perhaps had there been some sort of a vote, I don't know if that's the right word, but if there'd been some sort of a survey, perhaps that money would have been spent for a park bench where everybody could, sit at lunchtime and read, instead of only half of the employees being able to nurse their babies. So I'm just anti-assumption all the way around.
But I think, the more that we can get together around these issues, not to bring it back again to family leave, but it's a real passion of mine, like to sort of be able to recognize that, part of what I try and raise in the film as well is that we recognize what a responsible decision it is. Those of us that decide to be child-free by choice, we look at what parenting involves and we look at that and we go, A, will that make us happy? Don't think so. B, we don't want that responsibility. It's like we're aware of everything that goes into that. We're aware that actually maternity and paternity rights are like really important. We just want to be at the bargaining table too. So if we can all be in it together and say, yeah, what about the time I can take off to look after my mum that's had a stroke and the elderly person you're looking after, Karen? It's like, it's all together. It's not a them or an us. And that's what, again, I think was so lovely about the NotMom Summit. Childless and child-free, we're all in it together. And again, what you're doing here now is going to be really fun, I think.
I'm enjoying it. Our commenters are.
Our commenters are 100% enjoying it. So yes, we are.
If you are a not mom living alone with your animal friend, whether it's a ferret or a dog, it can be. I get it. It can be difficult to get your coworkers to understand that I've got to take the day off to go, get my animal to the vet. But that animal is truly your family. I mean, it just is. And so I think I would love to dream that as the world is just beginning to open its eyes and be open to truly listening to other people and their realities. And that's the word. It's not even about experiences. People are trying to tell you their realities. And for the first time, other people seem to be listening and just giving it a chance instead of shutting you down, saying that makes no sense, that, I can't agree. Just, you got to start with an open ear and an open heart. And maybe we really can change the world in ways that we hadn't thought of quite yet. Positive ways.
Exactly. I was thinking that, when we talk about the reasons to take off work, right? We focus it on, right now people talk about maternity, paternity leave, which are obviously important, but sabbatical, family leave, elder care, whatever it is, ultimately none of us need to justify the reason that we want time off from our jobs. Like, it doesn't matter why we want to take that time off. But we've been so conditioned that you work for your employer and you do what the employer says, and people feel trapped all the time because they don't feel like they can take time off to even just go on a vacation. Or even if they do take time off to go on a vacation, then they feel like, oh, I don't deserve that time, or they're going to replace me, and how am I going to be able to go back? I'm not going to, and we need to change that kind of culture across the board. That's not just affecting not moms or not parents, it's affecting everybody, and it's toxic. And we really need to make that huge change in employment across the board.
I think an addition, Max, where we bring on that HR human relations person, because I know, I think I might be the oldest of the three of us, and I certainly remember when I was first starting out my career, and it was a brand new thing that interviewers were not by law allowed to ask you, do you plan to have a child?
Yeah.
So what began to happen was women in their late 20s or in the early 30s just weren't getting a shot.
Yeah.
Because the assumption was made, oh, she's going to get pregnant and want to take time off, therefore I won't hire her, I'll hire the man. Because of course the man takes no time off when he has a kid. And so perhaps as more voices are heard, employers will begin to accept the idea that, gee, maybe all the women in my office aren't going to have, the young women aren't going to have a child. And that would be a mind-blowing concept for certainly American business.
It's really interesting. Serenity on the comments talks about, it's really hard to get time off for anything, which is, just what you touched on, Laura. And I think what you're saying as well is that having this conversation and being really open about what does it mean to have a child in the workplace, like the fact that I didn't want to do it all. Right. That was part of my decision. I didn't feel like I would be happy doing it all. And also, if a woman has a child, her salary goes down. A man has a child, and his salary goes up. It's like it's the insanity of the fact we're still having to fight for equality in the workplace just on those levels. I mean, and I really feel for my friends that are parents, the mothers that are doing it all. And we're seeing on lockdown, to bring it back to the subject that you do want to talk about, it's that there's lots of articles going around about on lockdown, the responsibilities of childcare and looking after the home fundamentally still sits with the woman. So this is in the 21st century when many of our friends and families are our friends are working just as much as their husbands. And I know we're talking mainly about heterosexual couples here, but that's a huge issue. Who wants to look around and see that happening and go, oh, you know what? I think I'll have a child after lockdown because that's, it's going to be great for me in the workplace. It's like, so I think the lockdown is going to be, I don't think it's going to prompt a baby boom necessarily.
No, I agree with you. I think you also just began to touch on one thing that totally is off tangent, which is gay and lesbian couples, where the employer has assumed, oh, well, they won't have kids. I hired her. I know she's gay. She's married to another woman. Then they don't want kids. Well, Anderson Cooper's got a baby. Wake up. I'm
right.
just saying. It's a new world.
We've just got a friend join. Kitty from Minneapolis has joined in, which is fun.
Anybody from Minneapolis.
Hey, welcome from Minneapolis.
Hey, Kitty.
Some of my favorite people live in Minneapolis, so welcome, Kitty.
Kitty Witty. So I've been walking with my little mask on, and I hate to say it, but the doctors are right. Exercise can boost your spirits when you're alone and whatever. And I wish I had a dog, but I pet everyone I meet when I go on my walks. Anything that we can recommend to our lady friends sitting at home and wishing they weren't locked in?
It's really interesting. Again, one of your commenters, Courtney, talks about actually the pressure of being really in close quarters with a couple. And some of the stress, we're seeing some relationships break down because they're not used to being together so much. So I actually think whether you're alone or whether you're with a partner, having some of this independent time, like you say, going out, wear your mask, keeping your 6 foot social distancing. I think you're absolutely right. If I didn't have some form of exercise, I think my mental health. Also, what I've really done is really avoided the local news. I've been watching NPR. I've been listening to NPR in the morning. I've been, watching some of Governor Cuomo, obviously in New York, and what that's doing to affect our lockdown. But I've I've done a number of things which has helped me and my mental health. I've kept we've talked about we work from home a lot of the time. I've kept a really strict routine. I work from 10 till 6 every day. I don't sit on the sofa watching movies all the time, even though I would love to. I've just tried to make sure to have a routine that doesn't waver too much from what it was before. And I think that's really helped. And like I said, not drinking in as much news as possible, because I think there's a lot of anxiety. I'm watching more now. Obviously, I'm very interested in the Black Lives Matter protesting. But so I've spiked up with my news intake. But some of those tips, I wonder, might be helpful for anybody that is suffering a little bit from depression or feeling this real pressure of, okay, we're past 3 months now.
Good points. I, of course, have no schedule. Laura is my role model. She's locked out. She's got her stuff tight. I'm still working on it.
Well, it's funny because we talk about the whole, that we're all kind of dealing with the pandemic in this way. I've been working from home since 2012. So I've got this is fine. The part I miss is the social function. Like I enjoyed going out to the bars, and I can't do that right now. And we actually went to a bar on Friday night because it was open and they had social distancing and we could sit at a little table and the servers wore masks. And it just made us feel a little normal that we could be at a tiki bar drinking tiki cocktails, listening to surf music, but it still wasn't entirely normal, And I think a lot of us miss that kind of thing. But then at the same time, you don't really want to go too far down that avenue either, because, drinking at home alone is probably not the healthiest way to cope with all of this.
I'm really, but I am so tired of the word normal.
Yeah, what's normal?
There is, the old normal is gone. There is no new normal because we still are evolving as we sit here. So we don't know what the new normal really is going to be. I'm going to get myself a shirt that just says there is no normal and there never was.
Yeah.
So make your own world.
I mean, I'm the eternal optimist, almost to the point of it being a failure for me sometimes. But I do believe for our community, and hello, I've just seen Mana from Denmark just join us. Hello, Mana. I think there's going to be possibly more of a conversation about our community, about the decision or whether we can't have children. I think it's not going to be deemed. I mean, I've been being interviewed all the time at the moment about the worldwide release, like interview, which is so exciting. And I do think we're starting to see, and as I'm sure you have as well, since you've been running the NotMom Summit, the conversation and the amount that's getting written about us is exponentially, it's really risen. And I think young people coming after us, in the same way they're considering where to buy stuff, where to, what corporations they should support. Should they be flying on, how many trips should they take, et cetera, et cetera. The decision about having children, I think, is going to be wrapped up in that and not seen so abnormal. And I have to believe, I feel that I'm seeing it, as I'm sure you're probably noticing it as well. The young people coming after us, I'm so excited about them. I'm seeing them on the streets when I'm doing like protests at the moment. I'm seeing them, it's like bloody hell, to swear, but it's really exciting. And I just think you're right. I think the new normal, or whatever we want to call it, Karen, I think it could really bring some amazing changes. And just to answer Serenity, because I know Karen, Serenity and I, we've been gardening a lot too. And you're absolutely right. Yeah, gardening, really good one.
Gardening and painting, I think it can be equally as toxic to say, well, now you're at home, so you need to do this big creative endeavor. Like you need to write that novel now, or you need to do a painting. But I think if that's in you, now is a good time to do it. Like you don't have to feel pressured to do it. But if you're already feeling creative, now is a great time to get that creative energy out.
I am still not meditating, but I have learned that the knitting that I have rediscovered is a meditative function. Counting the stitches. It is, and I find that when the news is really upsetting, I just sit down and sometimes I go on the porch and I'm just a little knitting full. If I'm lucky, very lucky, the pandemic will be gone by the time I finish my sweater and I'll wear it on one of these podcasts.
I like the idea.
I have the back done. Now I'm working on the front.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Talking about creative endeavors, I'm sorry, Jill's asked this question a few times in the comment. Oh my goodness, that's amazing, Karen.
Look at that. That's awesome. Yes.
Yeah, I just feel Jill's been incredibly patient. So do you mind if I quickly
No, go
answer?
right ahead.
Nope, not at all. Please do.
So thank you for watching the film, Jill, and thank you for saying you love it. That is always amazing to hear. I'll keep this really short as well, because this isn't meant to be all about the film. And please tune in on Tuesday nights.
We had you, Max. You know, you're a superstar. What you gonna do?
You have your fans, and that's awesome.
Rock on, lady, rock on.
Well, I think Plan B is the best thing that ever's walked this earth, because I think it's helped so many people out, because it really truly is estimated between 40 and 50% of pregnancies are unplanned. So let's just sit with that for a minute, because not everybody comes into this world as this ideal bundle of joy that everybody wished for. And that's what society tells us, right? We see all of these ads. And I know we've talked about this before, Karen and Laura, about like all of the advertising we see that just don't represent us at all. But just to answer you, Jill, I was very much of the ambivalent camp. And I really didn't think, I never dreamt of having kids. And I think the fact I wanted to rush out and buy that Plan B, like as soon as possible, was absolutely like, yes, of course. I mean, absolutely, Maxine, of course you don't want kids. What have you been making this whole film for like 5 years? Like, wake up and smell the coffee, girl. But, you know, for many people, they didn't really feel like, many people that have come back to me about the film, they've said they felt the same way. Like, how could they own this identity? Like, when can they own this identity? And I now am so proudly talking about how I'm child-free, because I know that helps people come after me. And the more we talk about whether it's I couldn't have a child, or I don't have a child, it allows other people to have this conversation. So I am I won't go into when we did have parties, I won't go into a party and immediately say, hi, I'm Maxine, I'm child-free, because I'll make no friends. But I definitely, if people ask, I have no problem telling them, because I know it would have helped me. It would have helped me feel I was okay to have said that to my mum, and I wouldn't have spent all of this time having an anxiety about owning that identity. So thanks, Jill. And the fact you said you relate to it as well, I know many people do. So I really appreciate you watching it. And now I'll shut up. But thank you.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I was listening to you, and I was thinking how you just are refreshing to me and reminding me that the NotMom, as far as I've been able to tell, and I haven't searched the entire internet, but I still think we're the only, and certainly one of the only places where we don't care why a woman doesn't have children. We just know that to not have children in the world, to not be a mother, makes your path totally different than the majority of women you will meet during your lifetime. And you deserve some hugs and a place to just sit and put your feet up. And so you help us do that, and you are happily child-free by choice, and that's okay by me. So that, because really I personally, as somebody who wanted kids, I've been to many places online and once it was discovered that I once wanted them, the words say that I'm welcome, but the actions don't. The tone doesn't. And so,
I felt so honored when you wanted to show, like, it was a really early cut of the film. Like, I was literally staying up before I arrived at the NotMom, finishing like scenes before I was showing it at the NotMom Summit. And I was sitting there going, please play properly, because I haven't had a chance to check this. So it was a really early, like, the film was not finished. But the thing that remains so impactful for me, because as you both know, and the people that have seen the film, like, I kind of skirted almost both situations. I was always told it would be hard for me to have kids. And I still get goosebumps now, but when, Karen, you came up to me and you said, I thought this film wouldn't be for me, but it so was, I was like, that's it. I've made the film that I wanted to make, because like,
ooh, I get goosebumps.
I know.
Yeah.
I forgot I did
That
that.
was
Now I remember. I do remember saying that to you.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
it was going to be
that.
like a celebration of choosing, and it really wasn't. And so I loved it, and I learned so much.
right.
God knows, I learned how easy it is to get a vasectomy.
Right.
No
Yeah, let's
kidding.
talk about that for a minute, but we won't. We'll keep it about quarantine.
But no, that showing your movie at the summit was truly one of my favorite parts of that. That it was an early cut, that you trusted our audience so much to show this. But then we also hosted the pajama party, and I think that was just so much fun. It was
Such a
so
good
much
idea.
fun.
You guys are talking about the summit so much, and we've got so many new faces watching this, and
Sorry,
I
yes.
already get begged and begged to have another summit. So until somebody gets a major brand to get up off some bucks and oh, by the way, discover a vaccine for the pandemic, we cannot afford to have another summit unless we have it online like this. And that's not the same experience. I mean, the magic we created in those hotels during the 2 summits is not meant to be online. It's meant to be shared. I often tell people that it is much more difficult to keep the spirit of the Not Mom alive online, because if you are childless by choice, you can easily click off and not listen to the women who are childless by chance, and vice versa. But when you are trapped in a hotel for 3 days and you are listening to a woman's pain who is sitting just, 5 feet away from you, and you realize, wow, her mother keeps telling her she's going to regret this. My mother keeps telling me she's going to pray and Jesus is going to fix my uterus. It's the same damn pain. I don't, but you can't open up to see that if you're only online. I believe that strongly. There's something about face-to-face meeting each other and realizing how much you have in common. And Max's movie somehow did that just wonderfully.
I mean, I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I think you're totally right, Karen, like some of the magic in those rooms. But Jill is like saying an online summit would still be great. I mean, yeah, purely selfishly, an online summit would be pretty awesome. And then people pay tickets online, it's like we have to support these communities. And if we need it, I would love to give this film freely to every single person that's going through this. I can't, because I'm still covering the debt of making the film. So there's a reality. And there are things like Patreon. Like if you want it, if this is something you need, then there's a ticket and you buy the ticket. So anything I can do to help in the future, just let me know. But online,
that's awesome. In fact, we have been tossing around the idea of doing a Patreon, and I think that I think it would be great. I think we could offer, things like online discussions, online discussion boards, things like that too. So we've been toying around with it. We've asked questions online to get a feel for what people want. So hopefully one day we'll put one together, and the more we can get people connected, the better, as far as we're concerned.
Absolutely. I hope nobody's mad at me. I'm only laughing because Laura and me are the staff. This is it. We got no money, we got no people. And so I don't know. We'll see what we can do, ladies.
But you're doing this, right? You're doing this, and if this is like really, people wanted the Not Mom Summit, then they're also going to watch this, and then it will be, like everything. If there's a want and a need for it, then people have to come alongside you. And yes, Sarah's saying online too, but you're doing an online. Like this is what you're doing right now. And and something could grow from this if people are can come alongside you, and and I'll be watching this space.
Okay.
Well, I think you've summed up everything, because we are pretty much out of time. So Maxine, we are so thrilled that you are on the show with us. We love having you as a friend of the Not Mom. We love having you involved with the Not Mom, and we were so grateful for you to be our very first guest. And I think it went very well.
Well, hey, anytime I can hang out with you ladies, I'm all in. So
Yay, that makes us feel good. And of course, everyone watching, if you have not already, check out the movie To Kid or Not to Kid. It's available online. And then, of course, check out the streaming Q&A on Tuesday. I wrote it down. It'll be 3 p.m. Eastern, if I wrote it down correctly. And I'm definitely planning on being a part of joining in, being a part of the whole thing, because I really want to check that out.
Maxine,
And yeah, and of course,
are there other places where you can see it, Laura? Like Amazon Prime and...
Yeah, thanks, Karen. You can watch it on Amazon over here in the States, Amazon and iTunes, and worldwide. And now you can watch it in the UK on Amazon and iTunes too. Worldwide, you can watch it on VHX, and just go to tokidornottokid.com and you'll be able to access everything, and the event, the live event on Tuesday night too. And it will be very, very interactive. So please join in, please ask questions, because, you know, after all, you're the audience and we love hearing from you.
I'm writing down so I can be there Tuesday night.
Awesome.
Me too. I am absolutely ready down.
And you've just had
and of course, for everybody.
Sorry, you just had a late joiner from the Netherlands as well. Lisbeth has written a book about the subject too, and she's talked about my work as well. So it's always exciting to see the community around the world, which is what you ladies bring to this whole community, which is, so thank you for everything you do.
Okay. Happy Sunday, everybody.
And yes, and definitely like and subscribe to us from around the world, and share this video, because the more people don't have to just watch it live, they can watch it whenever they want to. So it'd be great to keep the conversation going. So Maxine, again, thank you for being a part of this, and thank you everybody for watching. And Karen, we love you.
Live on July 12th. And we'll keep it a secret right now what that's going to be about, but we hope to see you then.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.